Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Has Justin Fields entered the Vikings chat?
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and you hear the weirdest stuff around the combine.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan with Wide Left. Currently shocked that Sam knows what a group chat is.
Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Hey, this is your yearly reminder to go check out Sam Ekstrom's combine video after you're done watching this and thank me later.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party.
Welcome in on a Monday. Please don't go watch that combine video. I think it's been burned and erased from the internet. I'm Sam Ekstrom. I certainly have not done an embarrassing combine video for all to see publicly. You met the Lukes, you met Arif, and you are with us here on the Minnesota Football Party, both on video, Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel, and in the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, which you can also access on the SiriusXM app. You can also watch us on Amazon Fire, Roku, lots of ways to watch and listen here at Locked On Sports Minnesota on a show where we will rehash the steam that came out of the combine.
You love steam. My gosh.
Steam. We're all about steam. We're all about buzz. We're all about rumors. And we're talking about Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, Justin Fields to Minnesota. I've got a juicy would you rather about the quarterbacks for this show planned, and also a little sign or sayonara RFA version for the Vikings in free agency. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150. If your bet wins, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. But let's start with the combine. Arif Hassan, he was there, and no shortage of rumors coming across on my Twitter timeline. Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, Justin Fields in the mix for Minnesota. Which of the two, we'll start with you, Arif, which of the two strikes you as more true?
Of the, like, Justin Fields to
of the two that I just threw out. Yeah, Cousins to Atlanta, right. Strong indicators, or Justin Fields, okay, so Minnesota,
Based off of my networking and friend of a friend reporting and sourcing, very reliable, I know. It very much seems like the Falcons are genuinely committed and interested in bringing in Kirk Cousins. Whether that means they can, I think, is another thing entirely. It depends, obviously, on the relationship Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have. Just the other day, someone asked me, like, hey, if, you had, the ability to parse out odds, what would you give? And I'd say, the Vikings... before the combine, I would have said that the Vikings have something like a 70, maybe 60% chance of signing or extending Cousins. Now I'm closer to 50 or 40, right? And then the next place would probably be Atlanta, which is not to say that they've got the majority, but of non-Vikings teams, certainly they have the plurality of chances or opportunities to sign Cousins, because it very much seems like they're willing to provide the kind of offer in both money and structure that other teams may not be willing to provide. I've also heard that other suitors that we've been linking to Cousins may be out. The Steelers, for example, a lot of people seem very confident are out on Cousins. They might be in on Fields. They might be curious about that, but they seem to be out on Cousins. So that increases the odds that somebody like Atlanta or Tennessee or whoever, might be able to land Cousins. And Atlanta's the strongest name associated with it. It sounds like the Raiders are not actually that interested, so that reduces the pool even further. Maybe Washington, again, super funny, so I'm cheering for that if it's not the Vikings. But it's it really doesn't seem like it's a dozen teams. It seems like we're working with like Denver and Washington, Atlanta, and maybe not that many others.
It's just funny because Arif and I sat on this show Thursday. I mean, literally, 5 days ago? We both thought that Kirk was coming back to the Vikings. That was just our gut feeling after what we heard, Kwesi and KOC say last week at the podium. Now, 5 days later, if I had to put money down today, right? Now it's like 50-50, man. Like at best, maybe. So I don't know, dude. We've been talking about this since the season ended. Day one. Will he? Won't he? Does she love me? Does she love me not? I can't do it anymore. Flower petals. I just need free agency to get here so we can get on with our lives, man. This is too much for me. I can't do it.
I'm very sick of it. It's
Yeah.
the
So
Mickey's.
Is the tampering the 13th or is free agency the 13th? Which is the tampering?
I think that's
is
proper
forever.
free agency. Tampering is now. Let's be
So
honest.
we're a week away.
Like,
So we're a week away. We'll have resolution in a week because if they
yes,
don't
we'll
sign
have
Kirk
resolution.
pre-tampering,
Should.
he's done. It's
Yeah,
toast.
it's way too expensive post void activation for Kirk. So yeah, that'll be the thing.
But it feels like Arif said, everything starts with Atlanta now. Like it's going to come down to what Atlanta does. All these other teams are just kind of waiting. The avalanche will happen after Atlanta. It feels like makes that move. But you got Vegas, Pittsburgh, New England, Denver, Chicago, obviously trying to get rid of Fields potentially as well. Poles wants to get that deal done sooner than later. But yeah, it's just crazy to me how much has changed in 5 days since Arif and I did Thursday's show.
Because we all learned things. Everybody got together and talked.
I think the two things was, combine rumor mill for sure. All those teams, all the media, everybody, you're right, Luke. Everybody got together. That's where that stuff happens. But the reports that Atlanta was willing to pay Kirk Cousins the bag all of a sudden, and then the KOC interview with Rich Eisen and DJ up in the combine booth about, Kirk's this process-oriented guy. He's going to go through the process. He deserves that. Also kind of throwing some shade about the process down there, about teams tampering, talking to Kirk Cousins early in his team, seemed kind of a little maybe annoyed or ticked off about that. But my point is the tone seemed to change with him versus what we got at the podium last week.
I think it's
by
really
the way,
clear.
You mentioned New England real quick. I just wanted to say dark horse for Fields and Cousins, more Fields than Cousins, but people have been talking
They're
about
also
that.
That's good to know. Yeah, I was okay.
It's very clear that Kirk Cousins' agent is just talking to everyone and it's just figuring out what contracts are out there. So I think the dynamic is, and who knows what the answer actually will be, but I think it's pretty clear that the dynamic is that Cousins' agent is fielding whatever offers are out there. And if the Vikings don't have the best one, he's going to walk and take the best one, depending. And he probably cares more about guarantee structure than actual money. So the best one from his perspective, whatever that is. And the question is, does a team like Atlanta or Pittsburgh offer more in terms of guarantee structure?
Right. And it might just be the difference between 3 years guaranteed and 2 years guaranteed. Like that might be the thing.
Yeah, no, you're right on that. And I
good
think
luck to him, right? Like at that point,
absolutely.
You're at peace about letting him walk if it's 3 years guaranteed.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I think
because Kwesi's so motivated to get a young QB. Like if Kirk is here, he's bridging. He is not the guy for now for the rest of his late 30s. He's bridging because Kwesi is so into these quarterbacks. He was so into them last year. He wants a young quarterback. He wants that quarterback on a rookie contract so bad. I cannot see them doing 3. I'm even a little bit skeptical about 2, with just knowing what Kwesi prioritizes. But that's not going to be true of like Pittsburgh or New England, I don't think.
Right. And I'll add from Alec Lewis's piece at The Athletic that he mentioned that not only did the Vikings do extensive work with Kwesi as the GM on all these young quarterbacks, apparently Spielman's front office was doing a ton of work on the year prior, despite there not being quarterbacks to do work on. So the Vikings have had an extensive history of scouting reports on players like Jaden Daniels going all the way back to when he was starting at Arizona State to now. So this is something the Vikings as an organization pre and post Rick Spielman or Kwesi have been very invested in. So I think this is
they called him in 2021 and we're like, hey, we might draft a quarterback. They've been trying to move off this guy for years.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh.
There's no question Kirk Cousins is going to get a better contract, whether that's more guaranteed money, longer, the structure's better, from at least one team, probably multiple teams, than what Kwesi is willing to offer. The question is, what's the gap between, say Atlanta, what Atlanta's offering them versus what the Vikings offer him? Because I still think if it's somewhat close, he may take less at this point in his career, right? To come back, not move the family. We talked about that last week, play in this offense with these weapons in KOC. I mean, he's made like 230 mil. What's another, after taxes, you pay your agent another 4.5 mil, something like that. But if the gap is substantial, if the structure is that much better, if they're not even close to what Arthur Blank's checkbook looks like, I think he's gone.
Blank check.
If I had to guess.
He's going to get a blank check from Atlanta. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't know about that, but maybe. Great movie,
Luke,
by the way.
You're missing the joke. The owner of the Falcons is named Arthur Blank. heard that a bunch of times here.
I
did not only I missed that, but why was that
I've
so
heard
good?
I've heard that joke.
Make me so happy.
I've heard that joke from people who were both sober and drunk, while I myself was either sober or less than sober.
That was one of Sam's best dad jokes, I think, ever on this show. That was phenomenal.
Best?
Yeah.
Most representative.
You got one?
Appreciate.
This is a platonic dad joke, I think. Best is hard.
Fair enough.
Let's also not pretend that Kirk Cousins didn't prepare us well for this happening. Like, Kirk has been setting this up since January. In his post-mortem press conference, he seemed very much like he was already putting himself in the audition room for the NFL 31 other franchises. Like, he is.
I really hope nobody thought that Kirk was just gonna have a little powwow with O'Connell and sign a contract and never look at anything else. I hope nobody thought that. I hope nobody was like, "Oh, he loves Minnesota so much." No, come on. Have you seen this guy? Have you heard him talk?
People thought that because he's the quarterback, and the quarterback is supposed to sacrifice, frankly, an unreasonable amount for the team, right? Like, it's the moral priority. Like, we know that people thought that was going to be there. Plus, a lot of people don't care about details, and so they assume that the people who are impacted by the details also don't care.
Yeah, like, Kirk Cousins is very concerned with adding years to his career. That's why he hired a body guy, because he said, if I can get one more year because of this, then that'd be worth it. Because what's 1 year worth in Kirk Cousins' salary? $40 million.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I could use that. He is all about adding guaranteed years in this final stage of his career. So I think that we're fooling ourselves if we think the Vikings have really any leg to stand on in the hometown discount category, unless it's very minor. If it's negligible, maybe he comes back to Minnesota. But the Vikings burned through any goodwill when they didn't give him the bag after a 13-4 season. Let's be honest about that. So let's pivot to Justin Fields, because this is juicy, I think. And also, it creates a domino effect that concerns me a little bit. So if you get Fields, you're getting him for $6 million on the cap next year. You do have to decide on the 5th-year option, which is $25 million. So let's say you pick that up. So $31 million for 2 years of Justin Fields kind of feels bridgy, right? Also with upside, because he's young. The problem is that
young and broken.
Yeah.
But hey, who among us wasn't broken? In the
right? Yeah.
Right.
Were I at least young and broken? Yeah, for sure.
Here's the problem. If you get Fields, does it deter you then from moving up in the draft? And would the Bears, because if the Bears trade Fields and they take Williams 1, they're sitting on 9. Can't you just see the Bears trading with a partner out of 9 that jumps the Vikings at 11 and gets the quarterback that they covet? Because the Vikings no longer want to give up the assets to move up because they have Fields. They probably gave up something for Fields too. So that's the scenario that worries me with Fields, is if it eliminates the Vikings' opportunity or reduces it to get a QB in round 1.
Do you think he's the guy? That's the question, right? Like, do you think is Fields the guy or is he not the guy?
Okay, well, if he is your trade for Fields, they're probably giving up like 2 4s. Because they don't have a 3.
Yeah.
And it sounds increasingly like he's not going for a 2.
Twice as good as Trey Lance. That makes a bet.
I bet the Bears would take future day 2 picks.
Okay. That would be important, because if they give up 2 4s, he's not the guy. Right? Like, that's, he's like definitely not the guy.
And also, it feels like they're struggling to get the guy compensation. So it would be like bringing in Sam Darnold. Like, no, that doesn't change anything.
Yeah,
like it feels about like that. Like we're there with him.
Yeah, well, and like when the dust settles, they might get a 3, which is not what they were coming in with this for.
Yeah, who came? I think it was Kuiper or something threw out. Hey, you could go for a first. Atlanta, pick number 8, something like that. And this was like 4 or 5 weeks ago now at this point. But we're just at that point. This is what I'm talking about. What we talked about with Kirk Cousins. I can't wait for this to finally get here and then just be over with it. We're at that point. We've all done this so many years in a row now. At this point, every single option and avenue gets mentioned and rumored at some point right before free agency. So that's where we're at. I don't think, to Luke's point, stemming off that, is he the guy? Do you think he's the guy? I don't really think he fits what KOC likes to do anyways, like accuracy, timing, rhythm. Fields
Set
is
protections.
Really dynamic. He's still growing. He's kind of young. He never really got a lot of favors in Chicago. Not a lot of talent, some bad coaching, people would argue, but I don't see it schematically, a fit anyways, first and foremost. And then, like Arif said, what's the compensation? If it's going for peanuts, I mean, sure, yeah, I'll take a swing. But I would imagine once this first got, I think somebody like a Denver or Pittsburgh or somebody will, offer up, a early third, late second, something like that. And Poles is just going to take the highest offer. I also don't think Poles is trading his quarterback inside the division either. I know Kwesi.
Well, yes, I was about to say Poles will probably take,
but I don't see
discounts to get the quarterback out of the division and potentially out of the conference, which I think would be ambitious of Chicago. But I think that you're trying to win, so you'll assume, but that your conference opponents will matter. I will add just finally that it based off of what we're hearing today, drafts in a couple of months, who knows? Based off what we're hearing today, getting to 9 might not be enough to get the quarterback that you want.
It
right?
definitely wouldn't be. 9 is not going to be the pick that does this.
Based off of today. Based off of today.
Your concern, Sam.
Now, the reporting is 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks. That's a lot. Yeah, well, it is a lot, right?
That's a lot.
Don't like it, and I think it'll change by the time we get to April. But right now, the reporting, primarily from Diana Rossini, but from some other places as well, is 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's maybe the Broncos trading up to 4, right? Maybe Atlanta.
There are a lot of teams trying to trade up. That's what that tells you. Everybody's trying to trade up. And so some people go, whoa, somebody's trading up to 2, 3, and 4. But
so
obviously,
you probably
not
don't want to
everybody
give up anything substantial for Fields if you also need to trade up. That's the sticky wicket there, assuming that Fields is not the guy.
You do not want to give up substantial capital to a quarterback that you do not intend to be your long-term starter.
Mm-hmm. Right. Given that 4 and 5 are not quarterbacks, and 6, I don't know. That's kind of where people are going. I wouldn't be shocked if it's not actually 1, 2, 3, 4, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was 6 or 7, or if Atlanta stayed put at 8. Right. So
6 is definitely in play.
Yeah. So I think that's where a lot of this is going. This is built entirely off of course, the steam that JJ McCarthy has built up. It's kind of funny because the way people are talking about it, I saw a tweet today that was just like, what did JJ McCarthy do at the combine that improved his stock from high second round to high first round? It's like, no, that's not what happened.
What happened is weighed in at 219.
Right? Yeah,
I think that's it, right?
Ate a lot of
I think it's the only thing people are like slender for him.
Yeah, well, and Jaden Daniels didn't weigh in, so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. What do you?
That's what it is. It's that the big 3 guys didn't do anything. That's what helped him.
Right, but in reality, I don't think, because I think that McCarthy probably hurt himself more at the combine than helped himself. We can talk about that. But I think the reality is people were high on McCarthy and were finding out more than he did something at the combine. Because it's not like, like a Chop Robinson, like, oh my God, what a workout. Holy crap, we're going to move him up a little bit. Right? Well, Chop Robinson, known athlete. But for Xavier Worthy improved his stock, right? We know he's fast. Record-breaking fast is a little bit different. Marginal differences you'll pay for, right? So stuff like that, or AD Mitchell, the actually good receiver from Texas, right? Like stuff like that, right? So it's not like that where the combine is going to impact a quarterback's movement up or down a board all that much. In isolated cases like Spencer Rattler, where you've got questions about kind of his maturity and his ability to explain himself and his discipline, his consistency, maybe the combine can help him more than it'll help someone like Jaden Daniels, which is why he didn't weigh in, why he didn't throw. But I don't think JJ McCarthy did much at the combine to help himself. Again, his throwing was actually very alarming. And I would say maybe he hurt himself at the combine, but that's not what matters here. What matters is people like Diana Rossini hearing that somebody like the Broncos wants to trade up. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a little QB debate, maybe between Daniels, McCarthy, and where does Michael Penix fit into all this as well? That's next on the Minnesota Football Party. Brought to you today by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and you can get buckets With your first bet, if you're a new customer, get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet your favorite NBA players and teams, quick bets, live same-game parlays, same-game parlay pluses, exclusive props, futures, and plenty more. FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockdown. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Shoot your shot. You can also bet some hockey, some college basketball, and NFL draft props on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thanks to the everydayers who tune in here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Full lineup this week. Ron Johnson's show tomorrow. He'll have some NFL Combine thoughts. Wednesday, the Minnesota basketball party and the reeling Timberwolves. And then we're back on Thursday for episode 2 of the week in the Minnesota football party. We're here talking Vikes every Monday and Thursday, also on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. Okay, so from what you guys are saying, what we're reading, McCarthy might be in the top 4. So standing pat at 11 probably isn't getting you Daniels, May, McCarthy, or obviously Williams. So is this almost, are the Vikings now locked in, you think, to a trade-up situation? And if you stay pat at 11 and you don't get one of those 4, what are you doing? Is it either trade up for a QB or trade back for no QB? Does Michael Penix fit in the mix? Luke Inman, what do you got?
Yeah, I don't know, Sam. I don't have the answer. It's a tough situation here. The Kwesi and KOC are in a really tough spot, especially if what Arif mentions comes to fruition. If those quarterbacks go bang, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, all of a sudden, and I like Michael Penix. I do. Do you all of a sudden, though, reach, though, at number 11 for him just because of a supply and demand thing? It depends, too, how free agency plays out, because we'll be able to cross some teams off that we've been talking about quite a bit, like a Denver or Vegas, whoever it may be, that could potentially leapfrog the Vikings that you're worrying about in the back of your mind that maybe won't be as much of a threat come draft day, too. So that's an option as well. But, yeah, I mean, you know, my motto, GGYG, go get your guys. If you love Daniel, sure. But what's the compensation, though, guys? What are we talking about? 3 total first-round picks and some change to get up to 3, maybe 4?
I feel like GGYG's philosophy is, like, very ambivalent about compensation, right? Like, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
If you want your guy.
It is. It is. Oh, yeah,
that's where it is. Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
But can I at least ask the question? Can I at least see what, how much I'm paying for this car, or do I just got to close my eyes and just sign at the dotted line?
Just blank check, baby.
So blank check situation. If you're doing the blank check, would you rather get McCarthy or Daniels or May?
May is May on the table? May
might be on the table.
If you're trading up to
Daniels
4,
or May is harder.
Yeah, go ahead.
But McCarthy is not in the tier of those 2.
Yeah,
and Penix is not in the tier of any of these guys. That's a second player.
Well, he's in the tier. If he's in the top 4, he's in the tier.
No, Penix is not in the top 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant McCarthy. Yeah. Okay.
So the thing is, like, if you wanted to make an argument that it's like, hey, we've got a tier of 2, right? And then we've got a tier of 1. Then we've got a tier of 1, and that other tier is McCarthy, and then you've got Penix and Nix. I'm okay with that, right? I think, like, and we've discussed this before, I think Penix is a better quarterback. I think McCarthy might be a better prospect, right? Like, I think that's, kind of the difference there. But I think that Daniels is in a tier above McCarthy, and probably we're talking about Daniels like he's part of this other group too, and he's probably not. But I think he's closer to that than he is to McCarthy. And I think that suggests that you'd be willing to pay quite a price for him. Obviously, that weight is a huge concern. Nate Tice published a piece over at Yahoo Sports about quarterback weight and how height might not be dispositive, but weight seems to matter a lot. It's been very difficult to find quarterbacks under 205 that have succeeded. I talked to Nate actually about the piece. It's actually really difficult to write that piece because it's really difficult to get player weights, because combine weight is like a lot of it's like water weight for lighter guys. So the impacted population here. So it's not their playing weight. And NFL teams have no obligation to be reliable when they report player weight. And so getting an actual weight for a player is tough. But we know that lighter quarterbacks don't tend to last very long or don't tend to do very well in the league for one reason or another, right? There's a small sample there. But it is important to be careful with that data, because if you did a study 10 years ago, in fact, people have done this study, right? If you looked at it 10 years ago and you looked at quarterback height, there'd be a strong correlation going up, strong for draft data, strong, right? A correlation going upwards for quarterback height and quarterback performance, whether you measured by second contract or Pro Football Focus grade or approximate value or adjusted yards or whatever, right? Whatever metric you want to use, quarterback height would go up. If you did it now, even with Bryce Young, if you did it now, it would actually go slightly negative, right? So you need to be careful about what you're using data for, but that is a consideration with Daniels. Plus he's older. Plus some of the stuff that is difficult to fix is present with him, whether it's, not keeping his eyes up all the time, whether it is his penchant for running into contact, or whatever, right? Maybe some footwork issues, right? Like those are going to be a little bit more present than they are for a younger quarterback like McCarthy. That said, I just like him more. I think that the degree to which he's a better quarterback supersedes those age and development concerns. So that's where I am.
Daniels is an explosive quarterback, like by his nature, right? What he does on the ground with the throws that he is good at are the explosive throws. They're like fades and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And McCarthy is very much not an explosive quarterback because he throws a bad go ball. And the deeper ones that require layering and like the touchy feathery throws those are how you get explosive plays. And that is where he struggles the most. So with McCarthy, you're doing the point guard thing and it's maybe a little safer. But I don't know if we're going up to trading up for a quarterback, I don't know if safe is the priority here. We're already taking risk. Like get in there.
Let's take.
But I will say with the trade up rumors and how much everybody at the combine is going, whoa, a lot of teams are coming, or there's a lot of steam about people trying to move up. The call is coming from inside the house a little bit. That's Kwesi. That's people being like, oh, whoa, the Vikings are coming up like crazy, and it's going to be really hard to beat them. Like that's the nature of these things. Darren Wolfson has been on this for weeks with the Vikings trying to get up to 3 to move up with New England and see if New England will move off of that pick. And we'll see if they do, but they're pushing. So I don't know if stay pat at 11, whether or not you think it is a good idea. I don't think that's what the Vikings want.
Yeah. Also, I will say,
go ahead.
Yeah, I will say this is not like very good reporting, but I will say based off of conversations from people who have had conversations. So huge grains of salt, boulders of salt. Vikings not that excited about Jaden Daniels, extremely excited about Drake May. I don't know if that matters, right? But that's
got the McCown factor now all of a sudden.
And pretty high on that too, right? And pretty high on JJ McCarthy is my understanding.
And I feel
don't
like
know what pretty high means though.
There've been other tweets that they are high on Daniels too, or at least took a great interest in him. Maybe they were turned off by
I mean, there's that story
with
from
them, they did their work,
right?
Yeah.
They've done a lot of work going back to at least 2021 on Jaden Daniels. I don't know if that means they're interested, but they
sure will have an informed answer.
If someone has a sourced report that they like Jaden Daniels, I would trust that more than the drunk conversations I had. Let's be clear.
Drunk conversations have way
sometimes
more
those are the best ones.
Those are source reports are just also drunk conversations.
Yeah, but they probably, I would hope, have those drunk conversations with decision makers, right?
Yes.
I mean, what was it, 2015?
A couple of different drunk conversations cross-referenced.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think it was 2014 or 2015. Arif and I saw John Fox at the bar rail just hanging out. I'm sure we could have got some good steam in there, but we weren't that aggressive.
Figured out how into Cam Newton.
Was he coaching the Panthers at the time?
Or was he already gone?
I think he was gone. I think
he was in Denver.
I think he was just
he was in Denver at the time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I will say, I feel for Miami Dolphins reporters because Mike McDaniel is genuinely committed to his sobriety. And so there's like not much that you can do. Yeah, he's very gregarious. He's fun. He's actually a lot. But
he'll hit his vape, right?
He's high on life.
Yeah.
I don't actually think he does. Okay. But yeah, he is high on life. But yeah.
Just real quick, the worst case scenario here, the nightmare scenario, quarterback, like Arif says, goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you're left with Penix, if you like Penix, at 11. But think about it. So 4 teams just took quarterbacks. Kirk's got to go somewhere. Fields has to go somewhere. Russell Wilson, there's other guys in the mix too. Maybe you could trade back a couple spots at least, because now all of a sudden all these teams have quarterbacks for the most part anyways. Maybe you could trade back a little bit and feel like you're getting a little bit better value instead of taking Penix at 11. But yeah, that would be a really, really tough scenario. Although, again, I think we're at that point in this offseason and draft process. every scenario gets talked about. And we usually at some point talk about quarterback going bang, bang, bang right off the board. It doesn't usually happen that way, but you never know. So I'm not going to bet.
I don't think it's ever happened that way.
I don't think
only
four have gone.
I think
well.
side
no,
of the
never
scenario.
4, but 3.
Have we seen 1, 2, 3? I think we have.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. Did we just see it?
Trey Lance.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Bang, bang, bang.
I mean,
Vikings
again,
would get a
he's
baller
safety, so it's difficult for me.
at 11 or whatever it is in the first round.
That would be the move. Yeah, it would only it would happen against the Vikings. It's because somebody else would outbid them for the New England pick, and then they would be kind of stuck going, oh shoot, I don't know if we want to trade up for this guy that we don't like as much or whatever.
By the way, this is a stacked non-quarterback first round. I just put it out there.
Take an edge rusher, you'll be fine.
It's a good draft.
If the Vikings don't walk away with a quarterback, they could walk away with Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry, all at cornerback. I like all of those guys. If they trade down Quinyon Mitchell, I love that guy, right?
I love
Dallas Turner had some pretty good jumps here, right? Oh my God, Chop Robinson, who Luke's been tweeting about and loves, and which like I
love Chop a lot.
Luke. I hate.
What would his sack dance
guy?
Like what? How would he incorporate the chop? Would it be like an axe chopping? Would it be like
right to the quarterback's neck?
It originally referenced
just a hand motion
chops,
right to your neck.
So I would hope that he'd have some sort of like connection to the original because he used to be quite large as a kid, apparently. According to him,
he could do like a feed me, like a Zeke thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think something along those lines would be
taken.
nice.
Feed me with the belly rub.
On the has the
There you
feed
go.
been taken on the defensive side? I think that's kind of an innovation that you can use.
I mean,
Fair
at
enough.
what point does he just pull out a pork chop from his pants and just start gnawing on
It's not
Joe
very
Horn
sanitary,
style with the
but
cell
that's-
phone?
Yeah,
Be like the third worst smell on the field.
Gosh.
yeah, it's fair.
Let's get
hilarious,
into great combine performers we would love to see in purple after this on the Minnesota Football Party. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Wasn't ready. A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. 24 hours, there's not enough time in the day. What if we could have that extra hour, that 25th hour? How would we spend it? What would you make a priority? Well, sometimes prioritizing what's important to you is one of the benefits of therapy because they help you identify what matters most so then you can do more of that, and that can bolster your mood, your confidence, and all the stuff that kind of makes you feel yourself. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try, and they can talk that through with you. You get somebody to speak into your life who's not biased, and that can really be of help. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched up with a licensed therapist of your choice. Switch therapists for any time if you need to for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/lockedon today. Get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, back on the Minnesota Football Party. Arif Hassan again was at the Combine. We've got all the Combine results. I know Luke Inman's been watching it around the clock. I'll give you a name that stood out to me: Mohamed Kamara, Colorado State. What kind of grade do we have on him? Because this is a dude from a pass rushing standpoint that I would love in Minnesota. High motor, pure pass rusher. I don't know if he's first round, maybe second round. Give me something on Mohamed Kamara.
I remember him being like kind of a preseason first round watch list kind of guy. Obviously his numbers are pretty good. I think almost like a full standard deviation above the average edge rusher, who are like, the most athletic guys on the table. My feelings on him are that he's fine for a second round pick. I'm not overly jazzed about him, but I wouldn't be upset about him. I think that his pass rush plan isn't necessarily like the most sophisticated, but that's not really that important at the position. I care more about like technique at like cornerback, right? And so I like him. He's just not really, or maybe like is strong, but he's just not really on my radar. But I've seen nothing from him that would suggest that he would be a bad pick with the second round pick.
Second round,
interesting.
Okay.
Okay, give me your guy. Give me your guys that you loved at the Combine.
Well, here's my thing. Okay, full confession. I got Sam knows this. I got 13 first and second round dynasty rookie draft picks coming up in my dynasty league. So I've been watching way too much running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. And that doesn't really tie back into the Vikings' needs so much. So saying that, did you guys see what Isaac Orendo from Louisville did? Jalen Wright from Tennessee, pretty good. These running backs.
Also pretty good.
2 phenomenal RAS scores. I like both of them coming in. I think they bumped their value quite a bit. Again, if we're talking about Vikings who just released Alexander Madison, who do we pair up with Ty Chandler? I like Audric Estime coming in. He runs a 4.71. How far does he fall now? And he was never a burner. He comes in at 221, 222 pounds, something like that. But maybe he's a nice little thunder to Ty Chandler's Lightning that all of a sudden maybe was going in the late third, early fourth round. Now all of a sudden you can get midday 3. So that's kind of intriguing as well. I know you guys have brought up a couple edge guys, and Arif talked about maybe going cornerback early too. And I was thinking about that watching the combine. It feels like, and you guys tell me what, where you guys have your rankings and tiers, but it feels like most mock drafts that we look at with the Vikings have them going edge, like a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse. And, like Arif said, you might say, well, why not Nate Wiggins or Kool-Aid or any of those guys? Quinyon Mitchell, I absolutely love. I think, by the way, Quinyon Mitchell, after Indy too, between what he did at Indy and the Senior Bowl, I think he's stamped himself in the top 20, but I think he's probably the biggest riser of any player in the draft outside of maybe a JJ McCarthy kind of guy. But the point is with these edge and corners, it feels like the edge group falls off pretty quick as far as, into that second and third tier, where the cornerbacks, I'm looking at guys in the second. I know the Vikings don't have a third round pick, but Kwesi could wheel and deal. Regardless, day 3, couple fourths, couple fifths, things like that. There's still some cornerbacks I feel pretty good about, whereas the edge class seems to drop off quite a bit faster. So it feels like if you were going to go defense and maybe quarterbacks out of the equation for some reason, maybe Kirk comes back or whatever that looks like, I think a Jared Verse or Dallas Turner, Latu from UCLA, I think it makes more sense value-wise coming back, knowing that there is quite a bit of cornerbacks in that second and third tier.
What did Turner run in his 40? Wasn't it nuts?
Oh, 4.48?
Yeah.
4.48? Yeah. Insane. And Jared Verse ran like a 4.58. That is crazy for 254, 6'4", 254. 4.58 is phenomenal. Great explosion numbers.
So what Kamara ran.
Yeah, it was big for Verse to get explosion numbers because he doesn't look explosive on tape. And so you're kind of answering the question, is that a stance thing, or do you just not have the juice in your legs? And
Jared, I think to simplify things, is more that strong bully power rusher. I think bench reps.
But you still got to get off the snap in a way that I hate the way they had him lined up.
You asked how Turner ran. I don't think Turner ran. The 4.48
ran like a 4.46.
No, he was the leader.
No, he ran faster than Chop.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I might have missed putting that into my little spreadsheet.
Yeah. Chop Robinson and Turner. Yeah, those are like the freaky athletic specimens. For me, I think Jared Verse. I like Jared Verse a little bit more as a complete guy. But who knows what Brian Flores likes more?
4.47.
What he's looking for.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus
absolutely.
Christ.
And then again, maybe you go Jared Verse and you come back with somebody like the Rutgers cornerback I really like, Max Melton, brother of Bo Melton,
Max Melton,
wide receiver
good testing
for the Packers.
Yeah.
Great testing, sub 4.4, 40.5-inch vert, I want to say. Mike Sandstrill, I've grown intrigued about, and I've gotten burned by these nickel corners in the past before. So I got to be a little wary, but he's maybe the best nickel corner in this class, depending on who you ask. Huge part of that Michigan secondary, team captain, all that stuff. If he's still there, early day 3. Again, I like the combo better when you look at the pairing as a whole, going edge early and then cornerback later, as opposed to a Quinyon, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid, and then who you coming back with though at edge? Austin Booker. I'm not saying there's not guys. Austin Booker from Kansas, I really like. Nealon from Western Michigan, I really like. But I think of the two, if you made me pick, edge first, corner later.
I will say I don't expect Sandstrill to be there in day 3. I think he'll be a day 2 guy, maybe like a round 3 guy. I like him a lot. A bunch of people here, independent of each other, like comped him to Mike Hilton. Played receiver for 2 years. They said he still has the best hands on the team, which is funny. It tells you maybe a little bit about Roman Wilson. I don't know.
Roman? Yeah.
You mean to tell me that Michigan didn't have very good receivers?
No, they did. Luke, they did. You're coping.
Did they?
But
well, except for catching the ball. But that's
we can. That's not as important as it seems. Keon Coleman can confirm that. But he caught every pass, and people don't like him. So I think
see. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that I think that you have to be a little bit careful about that cornerback group, just because they might get pushed up kind of quickly, because I've had some people tell me, hey, they think the cornerback depth here is great. I've had other people tell me they don't think the quarterback depth is great. I actually don't really know what they mean by that, because my understanding is that it is. I like a lot of these guys, but it might just mean that there's going to be a bunch of guys pushed into late round 1, mid round 2, and then we're going to be kind of, like you said, like with the edge rushers, kind of pushed off a cliff. Now the edge rusher depth is substantially different. Like it's like not nearly as good. There's a bunch of really top heavy guys.
In our closing minutes, we got Sign or Sayonara, our series about Vikings free agents. Should they retain these players? And today is RFA version. 3 restricted free agents: Khyiris Tonga, Cam Akers, Blake Brandel. It's about $3 million to tender these guys. I'm not sure that any of them.
Not 100% true.
Give me the clarify.
I think you're right about Brandel, but I'm pretty sure Cam Akers is an exclusive rights free agent, which makes him like free.
I don't think he's No, I don't think he's NERFA. Can you double check that?
That's what it said at Over the Cap last I checked. No, RFA. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Vindication. So I think it's about $3 million to tender these guys. I'm not sure any of them meet that threshold. So let's assume you can argue if you want to tender one, but if you don't, would you bring them back in a renegotiation?
Does that include original round tenders? The original round tenders $1 million? That $3 million? That seems high.
It's more than $3 million. Well, so I'm assuming you wouldn't do a first or second round tender on any of them. So I was giving you the right of first refusal number. Like it's like 2.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Oh wow, that's really high. These RFA numbers have gone up a lot past couple of years.
Yeah,
good for them. They should have gone.
The cap going insane.
Is it because of the cap going?
I don't think it's just that. That seems more than like a 7% year-over-year increase. I mean, again, great, because they were getting screwed. I'm happy.
Well, on the open market, would you take a run to get these guys? I think my order would be Brandel 1.
Yep.
Probably Tonga 2. Akers.
Yeah, that's not close to me. Tonga definitely 2. And it's not like Tonga demonstrated that he was as good as, I say that I was saying last year, right? He didn't, right? He didn't do much to prove it. But Akers is, I think, done. I think everyone is basically done with Akers.
Yeah, it's funny. The guy who probably performed the best, right, and gave us the best moments last year is probably the guy that we all probably have at the bottom of those 3, being Cam Akers, being with the injuries. What
moments is Blake Brandel going to give you? That's not his fault.
Well, no, absolutely no. I'm not saying
swing
it's his fault.
O-line backup is worth $3 million. I think that is a percent of the cap. By the way, one of the percents of the cap, like 1.1.
1.1%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that $3 million feels like maybe it used to be more 2 years ago. It is that right now. That's a pretty low commitment, but it is fully guaranteed. So you're kind of guaranteeing them a roster spot, is what that feels like.
So for Brandel, that's easy sign
for Brandel. For Tonga, I would put him on the bubble.
Yeah.
Do you bring back Bullard? What's the whole depth rotation?
Right. Yeah.
Like?
It depends on who else you're bringing back.
Right. Yeah.
And then Akers is I
I
want to give him another shot really bad, but you can't guarantee anything.
Yeah, but
a guaranteed salary for given his injury history and he gave us.
I would renegotiate with him.
Performance hasn't been like
let him hit the market and offer him $1.5 million,
because he might not see that money. Yeah, for sure. But you wouldn't tender him.
Yeah,
no, I don't think you tender.
What did Kwesi trade to get him? Was it like swapping 7ths or 6s?
They didn't even hit the condition on the pick. He didn't play enough.
Yeah. So Dobbs didn't hit the condition, and Akers
or am I thinking of Dobbs?
I know Dobbs for sure didn't. So they got that 7th round back, which is huge. I mean, which is
gigantic.
Huge. It's early in the 7th.
I mean, it's very likely that because the Vikings do love conditional pick trades now. So there's a decent chance that both of them had conditions and that neither of them met those conditions.
It was 500 yards from scrimmage.
Well.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
Is that because of the 500 yards?
It's because we've taken too long and Sam's ready to go.
The listeners don't quite fully understand the time limit factor, which is why I appear to be the uptight one. There are
that's the reason. You're right. That's the only reason.
Yeah, no. To be clear, Sam's right. We should stick to this time limit. We're deliberately sabotaging him.
Yeah, we do it every show, and we mostly succeed.
Yep, you do. Biggest faux pas of the week in sports, in life. The party foul of the week. Anyone?
I'll start. My party foul goes to Prize Picks for setting some absolutely egregious numbers at the combine. Oh my goodness! I hope y'all got in on that while you could, because they will fix that next year.
That's a party foul.
They said Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy at the same 40 time.
Yeah, Luke. The party foul is that they encouraged a lot of people to
steal their
play
money.
Daily fantasy football at the combine.
I see. Yeah. So okay, we're degenerates.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in that.
They really vindicated the degenerates.
Yeah. No,
Hope you got in while you could, because they had Blake Corum at like a 4-3 something. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, there was some wild ones. Yeah.
They chop it like 4-6-1.
Yeah. Like, these were numbers getting beat by like 2 full tenths. They weren't even close.
Numbers that like we had full reporting from like Bruce Feldman in August that these numbers were wildly off.
Yeah.
And I will say Feldman's Freaks List reporting does tend to match the combine outcomes like a surprising amount. Like, I didn't expect them to hew that closely, but they do. And like, Bud.
Because of Prize Picks' format, they will set numbers that are different. Because everything has to be all or nothing. Everything is all, you're making 3-4 plays at a time. So sometimes those numbers are easier to, like, I guess, I don't know, entice more people to do it. Or I guess the math is different that way. Like, there are times when if you went to like a sports book, Justin Jefferson's over under would be like 70 yards. And then at Prize Picks, his number would be like 50. And it just, because of the way that play, so sometimes it makes a little sense. This was way too much. Oh my goodness gracious, Prize Picks, get it together.
Outstanding. This was outstanding. I agree.
Party foul on offensive linemen. There's usually a handful that can run like a 4.
Yeah, they were slow.
7-4. Yeah, only 5 of them beat 5 seconds this year.
Oh, the return of big guys? Is that what I'm hearing?
This was one of the most athletic offensive line classes we've ever had. So I don't really care about the 40. The fact that these guys were regularly 320, 330, that's why we didn't get as many 295 pound. In fact, I don't know. We don't have any tackles below 300 pounds. That's why, Sam. These guys are running faster and bigger than we've ever seen. So not a party foul. These guys did outstanding. They just happened to do it at 330 pounds, Sam.
That's pretty good. So they're actually
that's your
faster.
Opinion. That's just your opinion, man.
I like results.
These are some of the best RAS scores we've ever seen.
Yeah, no.
These are results.
This class is just phenomenal. I'll have to. First thing I'm going to do when we get out of here is I'm going to have to go check out Arif's article, because one of my party fouls, just so many guys not showing up to the combine, or showing up not working out, not doing their medicals, maybe not even measuring, like Jaden Daniels. Seems like year by year goes by and more of this is happening more frequently. So it would have been fun. I get it to a certain degree. Would have been fun though to see guys like Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors or, any of the top 3 quarterbacks throwing the ball, spinning around, trying to compete a little bit. Would have been fun. But nonetheless, still a great class nonetheless. And it was still a lot of fun to watch this combine this year.
Yeah. Party foul on, I was going to say the NFL for making it really difficult for players to feel comfortable running the agilities, but that's basically the same thing. So party foul on GMs for being like way more leaky than they normally are. Like, I feel like we got a lot more reporting out of this year's combine than we've had over the past couple of combines. And I think GMs were just a little bit more loose lips this year.
Kwesi does not run a tight ship in that regard, does he?
Oh, absolutely not. But it seems like a lot of these GMs don't now for whatever reason. It's crazy how many new reports we got from this, because we always get a bunch of new rumors at the combine. That's what happens. But the volume at which we saw them was insane to me. So party foul on operational security. It's crazy what they were willing to just let people know.
The subterfuge is at an all-time high.
A lost art.
I mean, you can't the waters are so muddy.
The attempts at subterfuge.
You can't possibly.
I think it's these millennial GMs. I think they just don't know how to keep their mouth shut.
But it's like, Justin Fields is going to be a Viking. Like, no, he isn't. Nobody believes you. What did you accomplish?
Yeah, right.
That's a very Kwesi that's a sneaky Kwesi move, though, to get a guy at $6 million, first round pick, off an injury season.
It would be incredibly funny if that happened to Rick Spielman.
Well,
Actually, the guy that replaced him ended up with Justin Fields after we learned that it actually kind of saved the Vikings that the Bears.
How about Fowler from ESPN? Would be a shock if the Vikings got involved with Baker Mayfield should Cousins leave. Come on.
Okay, we've heard every quarterback. That's what I'm
saying. This is where we're at.
Well, hold on. Did we hear about Russ? Did we get a Russ rumor?
Yeah, we got a Russ report.
Yeah, we got
a while ago.
Yeah, every
couple weeks ago.
So Kwesi is just telling everybody, like, hey, this quarterback, this quarterback, this quarterback, this quarterback, we're open for business. That's what Kwesi.
They probably talk about one every day, and then that just leaks every day. Today was Russ day.
I don't think Baker's getting out. I think they're going to tag him.
I agree.
Brought back
Evans. Otherwise,
Evans.
they would have tagged Evans. Sounds like they're not tagging Evans, right?
No, they signed him.
They signed Evans.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, there you go.
This morning.
Yeah, good for them. That was a hairy 12 hours.
Did Higgins? Did anything happen with Higgins? Speaking of just these number one receivers, Higgins in Cincy, did he get tagged or anything?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they're letting
we have not.
No news. Yet. Okay, no news.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they're going to tag Baker, so I don't think that's really an option for anyone else.
Thursday, we will continue breaking down the rumors. I'm sure in the next 72 hours, we'll have plenty more to chew on. Here in the Minnesota Football Party, we'll get Ron Johnson's take as well. Thanks to the Lukes. Thanks to Arif. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Hear us on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed and Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Appreciate it. See ya.